right, well, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome, everyone. It's great to be here with you again today. Today we're going to talk specifically about how to publish your first book, which for a lot of folks feels a little bit challenging, but I think that if once we walk you through these steps, which are pretty simple and easy, you'll find that this is much easier than it sounds. So in our previous training, which was about how to get more sales appointments, this training is specifically designed to go into a little bit more detail about that previous training, which was about creating credibility and stature through a book. But now we're going to talk to you about how to actually write that book. And for this example, we're going to be using Kindle Direct Publishing. There's a lot of different ways to go out and publish a book. This is probably the easiest to do and to use, and so I would highly recommend Kindle Direct Publishing. On a tangent, though, I think that talking about Amazon and books is a great life lesson for all of us. When Amazon first entered the market, all they did was books. And they did it so well that they really dominated that market, and they continue to do so. But I think that this is a great model for any business. Is first we need to really take over a specific niche and use that as a stepping stone. And that's really what gave Amazon the foundation to grow and become who they are today. And I think that in any business model, this type of strategy could be applied where first we create a monopoly within a niche, which allows us to grow into other markets. And so I just thought that was an interesting point to bring up since we're talking about Amazon and books, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So to get started, we're going to need access to Microsoft Word. I think everybody on the call today is familiar with Microsoft Word, knows how to run it, and that's what makes this process so easy. You simply, whatever you type in Microsoft Word, it essentially becomes your book. And there's a few steps that we're going to take in order to actually do this. So your book's going to need a book cover, and so there's a few different places you can get this. You can go to 99 Designs, which will create lots of great options to choose from. It's going to be a little bit more pricey, but you're probably going to come up with a better product, and so it's going to take a little bit of investment, which I think will have a good return. Upwork is also a great resource for this. You can find lots of different graphic artists on here. It'll be a lot cheaper, but either way, I think you'll come out with a great product. Amazon also has its own book cover creation tool. You can use that. Definitely a good resource. It just depends on how much you want to invest and how much you want to get back. The next step is we're going to create a title page. So the very first page of the Word document is the title page. The actual book cover will be uploaded separately. So let me just kind of show you what that looks like. So in the Word doc, you just basically put the book cover, the title, and the author, and that's it. The next page, the very next page, will be your copyright page. So it's just another blank page, and it'll say text copyrights, and then the copyright symbol, the actual year, your name, and all rights reserved. And that's how you can create the copyright for the book. And that's going to look something like this. So pretty easy so far. The next step is we're going to create a table of contents. So the third page is the table of contents. But this is a little bit unique. So rather than just writing down the actual table of contents, you're going to use a tool within Microsoft Word to create this. And so what this looks like, it's under References, and it says Table of Contents. And you'll be able to add any type of style. But the reason why we use this tool rather than just typing it out is if there's an e-version of this book, this actually creates internal links to the different sections or chapters directly from the table of contents, and it's much more friendly for the Amazon system. So again, for the table of contents, you'll use the References tool here. Next up, inside of the actual book, there's a few rules that you'll need to follow. In between chapters or sections, you'll need to use what we call a page break. And what this does is it allows to create an actual separation or page separation within the Amazon publishing system. So if you don't use a page break, it's basically going to look like a train wreck between your different chapters. So you would just go to Insert Page Break, and that'll create a physical page break within the document itself. Also, you're going to when you're doing hard returns, and so if you're trying to create some spacing in different sections, you're going to have to do a Control-Shift return rather than just a regular return. And this again helps Amazon identify when there's an actual break or separation between text and different things like that. Now, no page numbers. What this is referring to is in the top right-hand corner, you can add page numbers. And so what you'll want to do is you'll add page numbers for the physical version of the book, but not for the electronic version. The reason being is the electronic version is going to have a dynamic page set because it's going to change based off of the size of the screen, the size of the font, and how the user is actually consuming the content. And so if you're going to have two different Word docs, one with page numbers and one without. Again, the physical copy is going to have page numbers because that's the way it's going to be printed. But if you're doing an electronic version of the book, you're going to let Amazon take care of that for you. All right? So pretty easy. Like I said, this is pretty easy because it's simply using Microsoft Word to create this document for you. So once you've gone through those steps, you're ready to go. So we're going to go to kvp.amazon.com, and this is where we're going to upload that document. And you can use your standard Amazon login to access this page, so you don't have to create any extra logins, or it's just going to use your standard Amazon login. If you don't have one, you can sign up right here. Except there's two different options. You'll use both of these probably, but we'll definitely we're actually going to go through the process of setting up the paperback version of the book, which is ultimately exactly the same with a few variations. But the paperback version creates that physical book that we're looking for, which is ultimately designed to help us create those sales appointments. So go ahead and click on paperback, and then it'll ask you for the book title, which is basically copy what the title of the book looks like on the front cover. You can add a subtitle here as well if you like. Next, you'll add your name as the author. Then it's going to ask for a description. This is used inside of Amazon to help people who are buying the book know what the book is about. It's a fairly lengthy description, but it's a great opportunity to advertise for the book. Next, it's going to ask you about copyright. Obviously, since you've written the book, even if you've interviewed folks throughout the process, you're still own the copyright to this, and so you can select that as an option. Next, you're going to add your keywords, which is basically how your book would be found on Amazon. And then you'll add the book categories. You can add up to 2 categories here, so basically it helps Amazon classify the book within its system. Next, it's going to ask you about digital rights management. What this is basically referring to is that if Amazon publishes your book, then they can either protect it from being downloaded and shared and basically force people to purchase it. You can go either way here, because if you're really interested in just getting more traction with the book and wouldn't mind people sharing it with others, it's probably a good idea since this is a sales tool. You can hit no here, and it'll make it possible for others to make it easier for them to share the content. If you're interested in more protecting that content, then just go ahead and click yes. And at this point, it's going to ask you to upload the document. And again, the formatting for this is either .doc or .x. There's some other formatting options, but again, we're just using Word, and you can just upload the actual Word file here, and you're ready to go. The last step is it's just going to give you the option to upload your book cover, which you've already produced either through the Amazon book cover creation process, or you've done it through Upwork or 99. It's also going to ask you, where can we publish this book? And I would just select worldwide. And within a few days, once Amazon approves the content of the book, it will become available on Amazon.com to be purchased in a paperback version, and if you've created the e-version of the book, it'll also be available through there as well. It'll set up some pricing options for you. You can set the price for the book, and they'll give you some recommendations. But this is a pretty easy process. That's why we're using Amazon as this example. But that's really about it as far as publishing your book. There's a few strategies that I'd like to recommend just real briefly before we go into Q&A. Because the book creation process is somewhat intensive and fairly large investment on your part, it's always a good idea to recycle the content of the book. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if you were doing a book about SD-WAN and how to leverage that within a company, let's say you focus on commercial real estate companies and we're sharing this with them. What you would want to do is make the first chapter specifically for that niche market, and the other following chapters would be somewhat more generic. And so what you can do is you can take that book and recycle it for other niche markets. And so you could say, well, let's talk about restaurants now, and then you would write a new first chapter or initial chapter and change the book cover, and then basically recycle all the following content. But you can create multiple books and just rewrite the first chapter and have them address the different markets and the nuances within that space and get a lot more traction that way. That way you're not writing lots and lots of different books for different markets, and you can really expand upon what you've already created and multiply that. But it has to be niche-based in order to get good traction within those spaces, which is what we talked about in the very beginning, where Amazon created a monopoly for itself because it was so focused. And that's what we're trying to do here with this book, is focus on different niches. So that's it for today.